What's good, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Sankalp Show. So, in today's episode, we have Puru Thakkar, who is 19 years old and founder of Nyus App. Now, the News app has got over 10,000 downloads from Play Store, and this entire app is basically a connection of news with memes, right? They put news and memes together in order to give you something productive. So kindly watch the entire video because this is going to be a very interesting video for all of you guys. So, first of all, thank you so much for being here with us in today's podcast, for sharing your journey.
Glad to be here. Thanks
Yeah.
for
So first things first is that like how you're 19 years old and you are already a founder of one of the best app for news, which already has crossed like 10,000 downloads on Play Store. So how and when did you start with the coding and development basically?
Yeah, so I've been coding since I was 11 years old. I started when so in school they teach us HTML. So in I guess it was class 7. So they
Yeah, yeah.
started with HTML. Uh, the school stopped there. So then I really got interested into this. I was always interested in computers, but this was a really good start for me. So then I started learning on my own, and I mostly do web and app development, and I've
Yeah, that's great. Like because starting out in an early age is the one of the best things, but not like the ones like White Hat Junior or stuff like that. I won't recommend that at all. I mean, it's good to have an interest towards this. I mean, if you are interested towards that, that's a good thing. But you cannot force somebody to start with coding and other stuff.
yeah,
Like right? All right.
yeah,
So
that's
whenever mostly when even in our stage, like we are in college right now, most of the students are really confused between whether they should start with the Android development or they should go towards web development, right? I mean, of course, there are other technologies as well, but in terms of development, there are majorly two types of categories, right? So how did you decide that you have to go into Android development and you will have to make an app?
I actually started with web development. So
Mhm.
websites was the first thing I started, and the reason I started with websites was that I didn't have a phone. So my parents didn't give me a phone at that time. So making an app didn't make sense for me because even I couldn't use it. So website was the way to go. I learned websites, and actually I learned app development just last year. So before that, I was all about web development, and I just love making websites. It's fun for me, and I even tried AI, ML, and stuff like that because of the craze. But it didn't interest me as much as development and designing does. So I just stuck with web and app. And people are confused between web and app. I would suggest that don't think about the future prospects and stuff like that. Both are gonna stay, websites and apps. Just go for something that you want to build for yourself. So if you're a more of a website person, just build it for yourself, and then others will join.
Yeah, that's actually a great advice. Like even I mean, I can say that I'm a front end developer, and being a front end developer, it always interests me towards website because designing a website is a good. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel it really great to be a part of that instead of app development. Although I haven't really tried that much of an app development, but still, whatever I have gone through towards the Android development, I still would recommend front end web development. So that's how it works for me. You started with the news app, right? So how did the idea of news and memes really came up?
Yeah, so it was the idea came to me last year in lockdown. So I was at home. Colleges had been shut down, so I was back in my hometown, and there was nothing much to do. So I was just passing my time, and I was browsing Reddit. So I was browsing meme subreddits on Reddit, and there was something about Trump going on back then. So something he said or something like that. So Reddit was full of memes about Trump.
Mhm.
So one of these memes had a comment on it which said that this guy said that he gets most of his news from memes these days, and a lot
Oh,
of people agreed. And I was one of the person who thought, yes, that's true even for me. So I realized that this is true for actually a lot of people, and memes has become a very important culture and a very important medium to transfer news and important stuff like that. So that hit the idea that I could actually do news and memes together, and it would make news a lot more fun than it is right now.
yeah, actually, entire meme community is growing day by day, and people are moving more towards that as well. Like most of the internet is filled with information and knowledgeable things, but there is a still there's a huge void which is being covered by the memes and humor, right? So as you started that, you started with development at a very early age. So how did you manage your studies and development?
I started in 7th, so 7th to 10th was a pretty easy sale because there wasn't much pressure for studying. The pressure usually comes towards 11th and 12th. So
Yeah,
in 11th
absolutely.
and 12th, I took PCM because I wanted to go to the coding side. But just after joining in 1 2 months, I realized that it wasn't for me. I really didn't like chemistry or physics. So 11th 12th was really a disaster. I didn't score well. I didn't do anything well, and because of not being able to focus on studies, my focus on coding also went down. So those 2 years were pretty dormant for my coding and my studies. And after 12th, I realized that coding is not something I want to take in college. It's something that I would self study. So instead, I switched to BBA, which is a commerce stream after 12. So I joined the BBA college, and now I do coding on my own. So I self learn. So which has been great because that way, due to the nature of commerce, there's not much pressure. Uh,
Yeah.
I have plenty of time, and I get to code on my own without the restrictions of a syllabus or something like that.
Yeah, like mostly people who develop, who are into development, or who do open source and other stuff, they are basically self-taught programmers. And coding sometimes is a very advantage on our side when we learn it on our own, because even in college, teachers and other people, they just teach what is there in the syllabus, right? So your app basically is also a company, right? I mean, I saw on a Play Store that it was private limited, right? So that got me a curious thing, like okay, it's not just an app, it's an entire like a company, right? So how do you feel about that? Like what would be the procedure to in order to start a company?
Yeah, so when we started for the first few months, we didn't even think about registering because there was no point in it. We weren't making any revenue or any money through it, and we still don't. But we realized quickly that for the app to grow, we would be requiring investments because news can only monetize when we have a large user base, and that can only happen with a certain amount of capital. So we decided that if we want investment, we'll have to register it as a proper company. So this year in February, we got it registered. The process uh, is pretty simple. Uh, I mean, it's gonna bore you and it's gonna wanna make you kill yourself, but in the end, it gets done. So the legal stuff is quite boring, especially for people coming from a programming background and stuff like that. But yeah, if you have a good CA, it's gonna sail through.
All right. Actually, yeah, because many youngsters are actually coming up with their own companies and stuff. Okay, although so have you like raised any funding or something?
Yeah, we have a few grants, but we haven't been funded.
So, what do you think? What would be the like the revenue model of your this app? Like, would you like to run ads on it, or what was the revenue stream for that?
Yeah, so the revenue stream will be for us will be the same as any other news app. We'll be doing it through ads. The only difference it will be that our ads will be also in the form of memes to make the feed and the app very uh, very natural and organic to view. So you won't be obstructed with banner and video ads all of a sudden. So we'll be trying that all our ads are also in the form of memes, and we have been seeing that a lot of big companies have been doing meme marketing on Instagram and Facebook and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So
that's a
that
whole
could news
yeah,
could be a natural.
that's a
Yeah.
whole
So
marketing
it's
sector.
yeah, and a lot of companies have come up from that as well. So we think news could be an organic placement for all those companies who are venturing into meme marketing.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, do you have a team of people, or do you run it on your own? Like, do you have any other co-founders or something like that?
No, I'm a solo founder, but we do have a team of interns. So most of our team, the tech and the product part, the tech product and the marketing is all handled by me right now. But we have interns in the journalism side who write the news summaries and stuff like that. And we also have interns in the content side, so who manage the memes and do copywriting and stuff like that.
whatever we have discussed till now, it was all, the good part about the, starting out with an app and making a company. So what were the, I'm pretty sure that you must have come across a lot of failures before this, right? So would you like to elaborate that as well?
Failures before news or in news?
Yeah, whatever you feel like before news, I must have, I mean, we have discussed about that, but during the time of making the app, or
Yeah, so there have been a lot of obstacles, obviously, and some of these obstacles are not caused by you or anything you do, but just by third parties, which you cannot control. So even when we launched the app, so actually I made the app in June last year. So I made a MVP, very easy app in just June. I published it on Google Play Store on June 8th, but Google rejected the app 3 times over a period of 1.5 months. So it was a
okay,
very tedious process. I made the app, it got rejected. I made some changes, it got rejected. I made some changes, it again got rejected. And then finally, I made some changes and got accepted. So when you're trying to get into stuff like these, where these companies hold a monopoly over the distribution of apps, it gets pretty tough. And especially for someone trying to do it alone with any other contacts in Google and stuff like that. So that was a major obstacle we finally got in. So that was good. And apart from that, I guess startup does take a toll on you and your health as well. So as a news app, most other apps, you can take a break and have a free time for yourself. But the problem with uh, being in the news industry is that it goes on Sunday as well. So you have to publish news on Sunday, and for the first few months when you haven't automated the process yet. So without me, the news doesn't get published. I was on the center seat. If I just go away, the whole process comes to an halt. So
yeah,
yeah, the main part is when you're starting up, you still haven't automated a lot of stuff. So till you automate and have other people join in and take control of some stuff, the company is very dependent on you, and it just stops running without you. So just you can forget holidays for a few months or years at least. So that's a big part. Apart from that, in the product side, we have seen launched some features, they didn't work, so we had to remove them. So even a few months ago, we launched a product feature called Discuss, which introduced a feature to discuss news inside the news app. I worked on it for almost a month, the whole coding process and stuff like that. But in the end, the user response and stuff wasn't good, so we had to remove it. So there will be times when you scrap a whole thing that you have worked hard on. So yeah, that's a pretty bad thing to happen. Yeah, it happens.
uh, yeah. So these are the like failure stories of news app, right? And yeah. So what do you think about making a network through social media?
Yeah, so actually, I wasn't really a avid user of social media. I used to consume content, but never have I uh, actively produced content, because stuff like on Instagram, you always need to have photographs and stuff like that, which I never get ideas for. Even on LinkedIn, long post work, which I never got the ideas for. But a few months ago, I didn't actually use Twitter because I always thought it was more of a political thing, so I never touched it. But just a few months ago, I started venturing into Twitter and seeing the startup sides of it and stuff like that. And that's when I realized that having an audience and having a good brand on social media would actually really help. And Twitter was an obvious choice because of its startup uh, connections. So many startup people were here. It was already connected to news, so many people go to Twitter for news as well. And
Yeah,
there was
yeah.
a very young audience, also our target audience. So it was clear to me that this audience that is there on Twitter could be easily converted to an audience of news. And it was really easy to connect with users as well. So a lot of people message me on Twitter telling me feedback and giving me suggestions for the app. So it was a very easy way to get suggestion and get feedback for the app without waiting for people to review or email or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's the biggest advantage of using social media, right? You can directly interact with your customers, right? So, with that said, thank you so much, Guru, for joining us on the podcast. And any last piece of advice that you would like to give to the audience?
I don't think I'm capable of giving advice right now, but I can just say what I'm doing. So just keep on doing what you love, and I hope you find success.
Yeah. All right. So thank you, Puru, for this. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a lot,
Yeah.
Sankar. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.